I think there are a couple of mistakes when people try to design a session. The first one would be that people don't have enough information to design the session properly. The trap here is that, okay, I have all those goals. Let me try to design a session that makes sense. It's not possible. Or if you do it, what you're going to do is that just reach the surface level of the problem. So it's going to be very high level and not very impactful. So you really want to manage that properly, to be smart and to dare to say no to the client. Connection, it's not just because it's nice to learn more about people. It's also because it has been proven that when you have this connection moment with a group, the group is going to be more creative and it's going to be more productive. So it's actually serving the workshop. Like, if you have more activities, what's going to happen is that you're going to explain more instructions. So this will take time from the workshop, and it will also take energy from the participant because they will need to understand the information that you're telling them. So it's like each time like burning calories. That's also why you want to reduce that number of activities.
Welcome to a very special crossover episode of Another Day, Another Workshop, and there's a workshop for that. I'm your host today. For those who don't know me, I'm Nati Ravez, and Mehdi and I go way back. We've collaborated on a bunch of projects together, like Fit for Facilitation or Workshop to Cash, and I was also a guest on your previous podcast, Mehdi. But today Yes, indeed. But today I get to flip the script and ask him all the questions about the art and chaos of workshop design, the biggest mistakes we've seen so far, the must-have ingredients for great sessions, and how tools like the workshop deck can help facilitators navigate it all. So whether you're tuning in from There's a Workshop for That or Another Day, Another Workshop, let's jump in. Hi, Mehdi.
Hey, Nati. I'm super excited to be invited on my own podcast.
Another Day, Another Workshop. I was just telling you, this is a great name. This is really a great name.
I took some inspiration from one of the best. Like, I think what I've learned from my previous podcast, which was just like me trying to learn from the best. It's like, now I need to be more focused. So I needed a workshop to be in the name. And then, a couple of brainstorming technique we use and there you have the result.
Nice. I'm so glad, so happy to be your host on your podcast and on my podcast. And since when we are a host on our own podcast, we don't introduce ourselves regularly. This is a mistake, I think. But since you are my guest today, I would love to hear a little bit about your journey into workshop design and what drew you to this work that you are doing today.
Sure. So my name is Mehdi. As many have heard my voice before, I've been facilitating workshops for the last 5 years, helping like corporates like solve tough challenges, using facilitation as a way to get there. And I also have been training a lot of people to do the same and share the passion that we both have, trying to make the workplace a better place to work. And how did I discover facilitation? I think like as many on the field, like the design sprint was my first experience. Like obviously I've been in workshop before, but I cannot even call them workshop when I know what we are designing, you and me. This is really collaboration. So I was working on this project and I hired this bright guy. He became my mentor. And he said, like, why not run a design sprint for that client? And we pitched it to the client. The client was okay to change his scope in the middle of the project, which is not like classical. Mm-hmm. And then we do the design sprint and it's super fun. It's super nice. But the client loved it. Like it loved it a bit too much. Like I could not understand why it was so nice. Like it's not that different from the way we work. And then what I realized after the project is that they didn't lose time to implement the things that we have been helping them to build. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason, and we both know the reason, is that when people create something, when they are part of every step of the journey, it creates like momentum and ownership. So they were really motivated to get things done. And as a consultant and someone that is always sometimes giving advice to people, to corporation, and I was frustrated because people were not doing the things. It's like, oh, we work on this amazing project, but nothing happened. Like I saw the shift with the design sprint. So I was like, I just want to do that. It's a fun way to work. It's productive. It creates real results. And yeah, fast forward to today, I almost only do that. and I have a lot of fun doing it.
So you are doing only design sprints? No.
No, I was talking more about facilitation.
Okay.
So yeah, as my as my full time, I'm still a consultant.
Mhm.
I'm running this innovation team and design thinking team. And before we're doing more classical consulting, I'm helping like client achieve it, and we were doing most of the heavy lifting. No, facilitation plays a big role in the way we collaborate. Of
Yeah.
course, sometimes we still need to create, but I would say it's 80% done with the client and then 20% done by us.
Nice, nice. And it's so facilitation is a way. What is facilitation actually? It's a way to bring the people to work together through different steps that we will talk about later. But in your experience, what is the biggest challenge, or what are the biggest mistakes people make when they design a workshop?
So as you said, like facilitation is this idea of bringing people together to achieve a goal, and we have a process, which is the workshop, that they need to follow to reach the goal. And I think there are a couple of mistakes when people try to design a session. But if I need to make a top three, the first one would be that people don't have enough information to design the session properly. So like quite recently, I was helping someone in my cohort in my boot camp, and he was trying to design a workshop and he couldn't put it together. And then I asked him a couple of questions like, what is the workshop about? What are you trying to achieve? What is the expectation of the client? And he couldn't answer to me. I was like, but this is why you're struggling. You don't have all the information. So you're like trying to take assumption, but there is no way you will put together something that will make the customer happy and that would make sense.
Yeah. We need also a little bit of context. What is going on in the company, or what have they done so far? You need also a little bit of context, right? Because we tend to jump in because the client is asking for someone or telling us about the challenge. But I do think that we still need a bit of context, what happened before, what they've tried so far, if they are working also in the format of workshops, because if it's something new, you need also to be very careful how you bring the people in. But I think the thing is, and it was the same for me at my beginnings as a freelancer, is that you think that if you ask too much question, you will bore the or frustrate the customer. And actually, this is one of the things that I've learned is that okay, if we want to make this session reaching the goal that you want, I really need to understand the context. And this is like showing your expertise by asking even more questions, right?
Actually, yeah, if they hire you, is that they need help. If you want to do your job properly, you need to have all the information. So obviously the way to do that is to ask a lot of questions. And like I think like the client will look at in the right way. Like, oh, he's asking too much information. Maybe I'm losing time, but I know this time is going to be like he's going to bring value because thanks to that he will have all the information to design a session that makes sense and at the end helping us. Because the
Yeah,
client doesn't care how you design your session. What he cares is reaching his goal. And I
exactly.
think what is also important is that sometimes the goal of the client is not super clear in their mind. So all questions are also there to shape the result that they want to achieve. And
Yeah,
that's why you want to ask those questions a couple of times so that you're sure that you get that. And this is the only way to assess if at the end of the day you make a good job with your workshop.
yeah, absolutely. And I do think that if you sometimes the clients ask for something, but the more you discover, the more you realize that they actually need something else. So, and this is also your expertise to bring them to explain them, okay, from all the information that I got, maybe some interviews that I make with the participants, I will recommend, I would advise to first start with this and then continue maybe later, right?
Totally. The only thing is that it's super hard to do
Yeah.
because when the client has something in mind, it's like it can be a bit stubborn and like it took him time to contact you. It's not like it happens like, oh, I have this thing, maybe I will contact. No, no, no. They talked about it internally. Maybe they tried, they failed, and it was like, oh, we need support. And there it's gonna be hard to say, actually, your problem is that. But again, it starts with question, fully
Yeah.
understand the situation,
Mm.
and then see if there is a vibe of like getting there. And sometimes
Yeah.
what I do is that depending of the client has like realistic expectations, I may try to make him work on what I believe is the real issue
Yeah.
than what he only asks. But then again, it needs to be like feasible and possible with the time you have.
Yeah. Absolutely. Is there other biggest mistake that you see?
I think the second one is actually linked to what I just said. Like sometimes client will have too many expectations.
Mhm.
So because like workshop can be demanding in the sense like the way they perceive it. Like we need to do for our agenda. We need to have a day that is fully booked with Nati or with Mehdi, or an afternoon, and it seems like a lot of time for them.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen is that if we're taking this day off, we need to reach this and reach that
Yeah.
and reach that. So then it becomes like just impossible because you have too much things to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think the trap here is that okay, I have all those goals. Let me try to design a session that makes sense. It's not possible. Or if you do it, what you're gonna do is that just reach the surface level of the problem. So it's gonna be very high level and not very impactful. So
Yeah.
you really want to manage that properly, to be smart, and to dare to say no to the client. Like, hey, Mr. Client, I've done this a lot of times. I understand those issues are important for you, but we cannot cover all of them. And you
Yeah.
try to see how you can reduce the expectations so that you deliver on what the client is requesting from you.
Yeah. What leads us to another mistake that we talked about is exactly this. If the client want too much, you would need to pack everything in a session. And this is one of the mistakes that we see also in workshops, right? That facilitators tend to fill the agenda with a full amount of activities, less break. And what happened then?
As you said, like they tend to overpack the agenda, so there is no room for more reflection, deeper thinking, adapting to what you're seeing. Like imagine after one or two activity, it's going into another direction. Like you need to have the time that give you the space to change direction. So yeah, and I got this from Team Leak. He's talking about like optimal thinking. Again, if your agenda is too packed, people will just hit the surface level, so they won't have enough time to reflect and to ruminate. Like when you have a break, your brain is still working on the issue, so it's
Yeah.
still like it's helping the goal of the workshop. But sometimes as facilitator, especially beginners in the journey, is like, oh, this is a lack of time of doing something. Especially if they're running late, they will maybe skip the break or make a shorter break. All those things impact the impact of the session and the result you can imagine. So try to have room in your workshop for your participant to breathe, for you to think deeper how I can adapt, what can I do differently? Because if you just like run, it's not gonna happen. And I think it's gonna be a long answer, but linked to that, like if you have more activities, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna explain more instructions. So this will take time from the workshop, and it will also take energy from the participant because they will need to understand the information that you're telling them. So it's like each time like burning calories. So that's also why you want to reduce that number of activities.
Absolutely. And so we have these 3 mistakes because we could continue
There is a long list.
a long list. So it was gathering information, not gathering enough information. What was the second one?
The second one was like not managing properly the customer expectation.
Exactly. And the third one was planning a full agenda with no breathing in between and too much activities. So now that we have covered the mistakes that we should avoid, what do you think is or are the essential ingredients that make a workshop truly successful?
Okay, so again, now coming back to mistake number 1, this is super important. So ask your question so that you have a full understanding of the brief, and then you have everything that you need to design the session properly. Then I would say there is 4 main ingredients. The first one is like the framework that you're going to use. The second one is like the workshop principles. So what are workshop principles is basically I like to say this thing like when you have a workshop, like it's like you're playing a game and you're going to win, but if you want to win, you need to follow the rules of the game. So the workshop principles are actually that. They allow you to make sure that you take advantage of the time you have, of the participants, of making sure every participant participates equally, that has their opinion to share, etc. Then the third ingredient is the activities. And then something that is super important as well is the experience. So how you're going to package everything and how you're going to present this to the client. An analogy that I love to use is like when you're designing workshop is like you're cooking a pizza. The dough is the framework. So the methodology is what holds everything together. Then you have the workshop principle, which are the oven instructions. You don't want the pizza to be overbaked, undercooked. It's not going to taste good. And you're going to basically not take advantage of like this delicious pizza that you're cooking. The third one is the toppings. So the activities. So what are the activities that you want to put on in your workshop to achieve the goal of the client? The client wants a certain taste when he's eating the pizza. So you need to pick the right toppings. And then, okay, we have a good pizza, but the way you're going to serve the pizza is super important. You don't want a Pizza Hut experience, right? You want like when you're walking into this Italian restaurant, it's a bit dark. There is a kind of warm lightning. People welcome you.
Candlelight.
Exactly.
Music.
Some music in the background, super important. The smell, the appetizers they're going to give you, like, you know, this olive oil with this nice bread. And this is as much important as what you put on the pizza.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. And I love to put, this is one of my favorite things between facilitating and preparing the room and the kind of music I will put. Do you have special playlists too? Because I have my special playlist.
Actually, I do. It's called, I've never workshopped this way before. It's on Spotify. It's open.
Really?
I think it's the first thing I created. I created it for myself, and it was the first thing that I created, like hunting on the internet.
So we can have access to this? I have access, but can other have access? Oh, nice. I will put the link in the show notes.
And what I do sometimes when I have time, I'm not going to lie, like time is like, especially now that I'm a father, I don't always have the time I wish I had for the preparation. But sometimes I even go into the level of like, I'm going to pick the music based on what I'm trying to do in the workshop.
Yeah.
So for example, I'm going to work on vision. A music that I love to use is like To the Moon. I'm walking to the moon. So, you know, it's like, it's just like, sometimes it's a bit aspirational, or La Vie en Rose from Louis Armstrong. Like, you know, I'm trying to pick the right music that will put the people in the right mental space to be optimistic when you need to come up with a vision.
Yeah.
Of course, when it's like challenges, I'm not going to put a dramatic music that will make them cry, but it needs to be like, you know, a bit more quiet, a bit less joyful, but not depressive as well.
Yeah. What I've learned with music is that I would put at the beginning of my session and the end of my session always the same kind of music. So, and this is also the music that is that I put when people are on breaks and they need to come back. So I would put some music like,
nice.
Oh, what is the name? What is the famous song from Aha? Take on me, take on me, take on me from da 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 dun 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 na 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 na. So, however, and then what I've learned is that there are some people, because of their brain, they cannot concentrate when there is music, for example, with someone singing
Lyrics.
Yeah, it's okay when this is only the melody. So I've learned also from it that I have different kind of playlist, and that in moment where they need to focus, I really put like very like sounds or very quiet music. So,
Lo-fi is good alternative. Actually, it only happened to me once. This person told me like, I cannot focus. Can you skip the music?
Yeah.
So I tried the lo-fi, and even the lo-fi couldn't work. So I put some silent, and then I put like, it was a remote, so it was during COVID. So I said like, guys, I'm going to share with you my playlist. If it helps you get into the mood, in the flow, use it. But I don't want, of course, to interrupt like the experience of that lady. And I think I took this from Jake Knapp, but Jake Knapp said like, because music is also like a kind of energizing people. But let's be honest, it's like when you're like in a deep thinking, it can also like impact you, you know, like for example, myself, I work with music, but when I'm really stuck on I will pause the music because I really want to think deeper. And he said like, he knows that it's impacting the quality of the thinking, but the benefits it brings from an energy perspective is worth that impact on the focus. So try to see also what works for you. Like if you're only running strategic workshop that are quite intense, like be gentle with the music.
Exactly.
And by the way, I love the tips you used, Natia, of like using the same music for the beginning, the end, and the break, because then people will get excited just by listening to the music. So it's really cool.
Exactly. It needs to be something that with kind of melody that they can remember. So the funny thing is when they are coming in and they don't know me really, they are looking like, what is happening there? And then after the first break, nothing really happened. But if you have a day workshop, for example, you can be sure that after the lunch, when they are coming in, they are all singing, or not all, but some of them are coming in the room singing the same melody. And I found it very, very funny. I did it in Asia, and I think they were very polite and quiet at the beginning, and they were all coming in the room singing the melody of the song. So yeah, it
And
put
it's
them
also like,
in a good spirit. Sorry.
and also like, you know, participant will try to negotiate for breaks. I think it's more polite to tell you like, can you play that music again? Instead of like, oh, can we have one more break?
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So we want to create a great experience. And you have created something that will help us facilitators to, yeah, to create this experience. You have created a card deck, which is called the workshop card deck. And I would love to hear what is it and why did you decide to do it, to make it?
So this is the workshop deck. So indeed,
Yeah.
like, so I've created this like 3 years ago because most of the time when I teach facilitation, it's in a corporate setup. Like I come to a corporate for 1 day or two and I teach them facilitation. And of course, workshop design is important. But with the time I had, I believed it was not important to give them information about the activities. I just told them like, those are the type of activities that you want to run. But I'm not giving them the proper activities because I will lose time. It's too complex. You need to spend time explaining each of the activities. But what I kept hearing in those training is like, yeah, but how do I know which activities to pick? How do I know if it will deliver? How do I know if my workshop flow makes sense, like the sequence of activities?
Yeah.
So after hearing all those questions, I was like, maybe there is a way of helping them to pick. Because like I'm sure you have this like native, at least I had like when I started, I went like to look for inspiration.
Yeah.
And I went to the Mirrorverse and I was browsing and oh, this template looks very cool. And then you try to understand the templates, you not fully get it because most of the time they're not sharing openly all the details of the template or just to keep it nice.
Yeah.
And then you go into workshop and you try to explain the thing that you have understood and it's like a disaster.
Not landing. Not landing. Yeah, I had it already.
So I was like, yeah, go ahead.
And the truth is, when you go on the internet, there are so much resources. So it's also overwhelming because I can remember that at the beginning I tried to copy paste all my activities. I didn't know how to sort them. They were in completely like I had one folder. So it was like every time I was designing a workshop, I would look through them. And so I think, yeah, I think it's good to collect and to categorize with the time. And I guess this is what you did and what you put now into this workshop deck, right?
Yeah. So basically it's simple. Like I love experiment. Like one of the tips I always share in my session or I teach people is that like you want to try as many things as you can so that you see what works for you, what works with the group. And as someone who tried a lot of things, I kept using the same activities because they were simple and they delivered. So this is why this is how I created the workshop deck. I just put the activities I've been using for years that for me delivered, that worked, and that were simple to explain. And something important you said is like, yeah, but on the internet, like it's overwhelming. There are too many options.
Yeah.
That's why there are 52 cards in the workshop deck, but there are only 28 activities because I didn't want you to lose too much time trying to pick the perfect one. So if you understand the logic of like how the cards are created, you will be able to pick and the choice will not be one on 28 because there is a framework and you just need to follow the framework because the cards are color coded so that you know exactly which one you need to follow to have a balanced flow and a balanced workshop. So let me take an example, like the green cards, you have 6 green cards. So if you need to pick the activity, it's out of 6 so that it's not hard to to choose because we are facilitators. We are telling people to choose, but like it's still hard to choose, right?
Yeah. And do you think you can build any kind of workshop with these 28 activities that you have in the card decks?
So the great thing is that, and at least for me, is that I'm not niching. So I decided to keep it fun. So I'm doing any type of session. I do complex problem solving. I do strategy session. I do team retreats. I do offsites. And I always use the same activities and they always land. I see it like a Pareto type of system, like 80% of your needs will be covered by the workshop deck. Then of course, if you are working on a specific workshop, like a branding session, yeah, of course, you may need to look for a specific exercise.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you understand the logic of the cards and why we are running the activities, because most of the time we don't ask ourselves those questions.
Yeah.
Like we just pick and we use,
Yeah.
then you will be able to twist them.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can just twist that and like enrich that. And to be honest, like I took a lot of inspiration from the design sprint.
Yeah.
Because I've learned a lot from the design sprint. My first facilitation was only that. So my first custom workshop was like, oh, I know this and I know that. Let me try to use that. And you will see it when you if you decide to buy the deck.
And so you are talking about a framework, and you are talking about how the card are structured. Do you want to
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more and show us how it looks like?
Yeah, sure. So those are the cards. As I said, they are color coded, and because there is a framework that we are using in the card, it's called the 6C framework. So it's something that I took from AJ Smart, who created 4Cs, and then the community. I'm saying the community because I don't want to be cocky enough to say Mehdi. Like I came up with these 6Cs, but I was not the only one, and we'll
No,
hear a
you
funny
were
story.
not. You were not, and you are laughing because I told you last time we spoke together. It's not you who created that. I think we had just all the same idea with these 6 C's. So we are coming both from the workshop master by Agent Smart. And so they have this really, really, really great 4 C's framework. And what are then the first and the last, or give us the whole framework, so to say.
Yeah. So basically, it was even before they created a book. And it was like the most known book. Yeah, you have the book.
I have the book. And of course, it's not on my. It's here. Look at it.
Basically,
I
the
have
workshop.
the book. Here, the workshop a playbook.
Hey.
Hey. I am one of the. Do you have also the edited edition? I think it's from 2018 or something.
They made an update?
No. 2018. 18.
Yeah, I have it. It's on.
Oh yes,
see it?
It's here too. So
Yeah,
thank you, thank you for this, Agent Smart. But you had, and I had also 2 C's. So what the framework from Agent Smart is collect, choose, create, commit. But before you collect anything, and we had a common guest on our podcast, Chad Littlefield, who is telling us this also. Before you start anything in a workshop, you need to connect the people and to connect them to the content. Exactly. Connect is the first one.
Exactly. So the first is to use the same words he's using. He hates the word icebreaker. Like he calls this like a connection before content.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the term warm up. But in the cards, I use the term icebreaker because that's how people know them. So I didn't want to create I'm special, I'm using warm up. It's just because icebreaker comes with this cringe thing like, oh, we're going to run an icebreaker. Oh, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be cringe.
Yeah.
So I don't want to join. So that's why I call this a warm up. Connect before connection is also great. If you want to call them icebreaker, just do what you want. But basically, the first thing is really important. Like connection. It's not just because it's nice to learn more about people. It's also because it has been proven that when you have this connection moment with a group, the group is going to be more creative and it's going to be more productive. Yeah. So it's actually serving the workshop. Like so many times I've heard like, oh, I don't have enough time in my session, so I will skip the icebreaker. It's like, I would not advise that because actually it serves you go faster in the session and then also read the room. I say this in the cards, like, as a facilitator, I want to see what type of personality I have in the room. Who's going to be the challenging one? Who's going to be the nice one? Who's going to be the one that I really want to leverage because it's going to be like, contributing so much to the workshop. So that's the first C. Then if we go, we have collect. So basically it's like, oh, we are trying to solve that problem. Imagine, let's take an example. We are trying to improve the recruitment process of this company. Basically, I'm going to gather all the information linked to the recruitment process, like a mapping of the process, complaints about the process, results, like some data, some KPIs based on the step of the process. So basically, you want to gather all the information you would need to be able to achieve the goal of the session. In our case, improve the recruitment process. Then you have the choose phase. So the choose phase is like, in a workshop, time is limited. You cannot do everything at once. So you need to choose your battles. And this is where it's super hard because we are living in a world where people don't like to make choices anymore. It's a brilliant way of procrastinating. No, I need more time. I need more data. I need more information to be able to do that. In a good workshop, you're going to guide your participant to be able to choose. And here, if I use the same example with the recruitment process, it's like, okay, there are so many things that could lead to a bad recruitment process. I don't know. It's like we don't have the right candidates entering in the process in the first place. So screening is done badly, or people never accept the offer, which like, oh, if you just improve the offer, maybe people will accept, or the way you improve, you present the offer. So you see, you take your challenge, you break it down into multiple challenge, and then you pick the most important one and the one that you believe will have the most impact on what you're trying to achieve. And this is what you do in a choose. And together with collect and choose, you have like the precise scope of your workshop.
Exactly.
Then I have the feeling I'm giving a course here.
Yeah, you are giving a full course. So if you want to buy something, forget it. They will just have to listen to the podcast. No, sorry.
Exactly. But that's what we want to do, right? We want to deliver value in this session. So,
Exactly.
but like this, I'm not going to explain much because this is what people want to do in a workshop. They just want to brainstorm. So now that the scope is so clear, you just want to come up with ideas, with solutions, with concept. And this is what you do in the create phase. Then, of course, it won't be a good workshop if you don't commit on any of the solution that you created. So you want to have to build a kind of a commitment. Like after this session, I know that Nati is going to implement the idea of presenting the offer by inviting them to lunch, for example. Okay, great. Nati is going to do that by when in 2 weeks, and she's going to run an experiment with the 3 first candidates. Okay, cool. It's committed. All right. And then the one that was created by the community is like, okay, it's great to have those moments, but we want to celebrate. And celebrate, of course, it's well packaged. It's a cool word, but it's also because participants don't have the full image of what happened. The exercise where
there are sorry,
not necessarily. Sometimes even the painful moment. Oh, this exercise was so hard, so draining. True. I really struggle with that. So you want to remind them like, hey guys, you remember when you walked into this space with the cool music of Nati? We had no clue on how we would improve the recruitment process. But now we have 10 ideas that have been prioritized. We know that Nati is going to do that. We know that Saiti is going to do that. So you remind them of how much work you've done, what we achieved. You remind them of what needs to happen so that you bring them clarity on what has been committed to, because your goal is that they take action, so that the last thing you say, they remember. And on top of that, you want to bring a special ingredient to make that last step fun. So picking the right activity to convey that message. And this was like the 6 C's.
Yeah. So, and when you say pick the one activities that will fulfill what needs to happen in this part of the framework, what is actually your best advice for choosing this right activity for a specific workshop?
So my best tip is actually to reverse engineering the process. Okay, so and I think like it worked with my cards, but it worked with any type of workshops that you want to design. Like if you're struggling to pick an activity, try to think about, okay, what is the outcome I want to achieve? Here, I want to improve recruitment process. I want an action plan telling me what are the things I need to implement to improve it. And from there, okay, how can I have this action plan? I guess I would need some ideas. I would need some priorities on these ideas, like which one makes sense. I would need some owners who's going to do what. I would need maybe a timeline. And then you pick all those things and you write them on your paper, on your computer, and then you look at them. It's like, okay, what is the right flow of getting those information? I'm not going to work on the timeline before having the ideas that have been prioritized. Then I need to assign them to people.
Yeah.
And then you see how easy it becomes. Then you can just like, okay, which activity will give me that? Which activity will give me that? And it's also information that you will find on the cards. So actually, Nati, tu me vois bien en fait?
Un tout petit peu, mais non, tu vois très bien.
Ah, parce que j'ai ma caméra qui fait des mouvements. Ah ouais, c'est ça, merde.
Non, mais ça va. Franchement, ça va. Okay, can you show us a typical card with an activity? It's so big. So
a big format.
Yeah, the cards are of course smaller. Can you show again the
real size card? Like this is the real card.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is just
to show.
So basically, as I said, the cards are color coded. So you see, commit is the radius, not the radius, the stroke, and it's pink, so that you have a reminder that is the commit phase. You have a reminder that is also written. Then you have the name of the activity, the timing you need to run the activity. Then you have a visual representation of how the activity should look like at the end, so that you know, okay, you see here, it's a matrix. I see sticky notes that have been prioritized with dot voting, and I see them placed on the matrix. And then you have the description. So what is the activity about? Why you are running the activity? So the why, you have the information of like what is interesting for what type of outcome. And then you have all the instructions. So you have basically the how how you can run the activity. So you just need to follow them. And sometimes you have tips on the bottom so that you know for this, it may be interesting to do that. Or maybe you can twist it that way. Or if you have some resistance here, try that instruction.
Yeah.
And last small details, I remember like the oven instruction, the workshop principles. Of course, they are important for every activity of your workshop. But depending on the activity, sometimes it's interesting to have a focus on one particular one or multiple ones, because at that moment of the session, it's more important. And you see the formula to come back to your question, like it's great to have nice activities, but they only work if you're able to explain them properly. And again, it's also AJ and Smart that came up with that research. I don't remember the research. It was like, if you explain your activity with the formula what, why, how, it will make it easier for participants to understand what you're asking from them. So you start,
Exactly.
what is the activity about? Why you need to run it? And the why is in the middle because it's not super important. It just helps in case you have like challenging participants. They see that everything has been thought about. That she knows her stuff, like because everything has an explanation. So it's not like she didn't pick it randomly. And then you finish with the how, because this is the last thing people will remember. This is the most important information. So you want to give it last so that they can just follow your guidance.
Yeah, so important to give instructions, and on the top you have to repeat them 1 to 3 times
Yeah.
in different tone of voice, maybe by using your hands also to really make people understand. And you need to identify the person who maybe haven't understand. You know what? I would love to have the card deck for me in the big format. Yeah, because I was just thinking, this is so cool. If I could have all my activities and I am in a big room and I have a big group, you put this on the wall, they are very
So cool.
stylish. Yeah.
You know, it's called slides.
No, I mean really, no, I mean really the big ones.
Yeah, even myself, I just have this one. Yeah, maybe because even like I've been invited to give a keynote in December, and I was like, oh, maybe I can just print all of them. But I was like, no, it's gonna be too complex in a keynote to talk about activities, so
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, I
cool.
will. So then it's gonna cost me a fortune to send those cards to you in Bali, Nati, if you want the big format. I can only commit to giving you the small one.
Okay. But I will get the small one, I hope very
Of
soon, because
course.
I'm very, very curious to see this. So the card is almost ready. I know that you have a very, very long waiting list for this. So how can people get this card deck? What is everything included with the fact of getting these card decks? What are you preparing now?
So I'm preparing a big launch event where I'm going to share the other project I've been secretly working next to the workshop deck. Because let's be honest, the workshop deck is something I created 3 years ago. I've updated it based on what I've been using and with the different cohort, because the people in my cohort had the chance to have the cards, but they were only digital. So taking something digital to make it print, it was a journey. But I think I finished it in May. And when I'm telling to people that I'm still working on the workshop deck, they are like, what are you doing if it's... So let's say that what I'm working on is going to make workshop design even more simple.
Yeah.
Because that's the mission of the workshop deck. I want to give confidence to people that you can trust this activity. I've run it. The people I've trained have run it. A lot of people in the space have run them. So they're going to work. So you don't need to stress, is my design is gonna deliver? No, that's a certainty, because people, especially beginners in the journey, need to focus on what's gonna happen in the room.
Yeah.
That's even more important than the design, especially since we both know that a good design, like you can have the perfect design, it's always changed because of what happens in the room, because of humans at the end of the day. There are always things that you need to change.
And you need always to pivot. I have, for example, I make a parenthesis because I don't know if it's in your deck. Do you have the 1, 2 for all in your deck?
No, because you can talk about this activity. I think it's too meta because it's more a technique. You
Yes,
can use
exactly.
it for...
Exactly. It's true. It's more a technique. And this is, okay. So this is one of
Liberator
the
structure.
activity. Yeah, exactly. This is one of the activity or technique that I have always in my backpack in case of I need to pivot. It's not working in the main room, and I need to bring people to pair them or to make small groups of 3. So it's true that you always have something that happen and you need to pivot, even if it's about the timing or you have an activity that needs to get longer because you were thinking they would come faster to results, but you feel that they need more to talk. I don't know. I was running a session with Maria Wishman a few years ago, and this was the retrospective of the year and then goal setting for the next year. And these teams didn't have the time really to talk to each other during the past month. So there were some activities from the retrospective who took much more time than we thought. So you need to pivot sometimes. So yeah.
And I think that those are the moments where you need to judge, like, it's okay if I don't do a certain things, because I believe this, what happened here, like the discussion about what happened in the project and why it was a success or a failure is important, especially in that type of session at the end of the year, if I remember well.
Yeah.
The only advice I can give you, like, just double check with the deciders just to be sure that it's okay, because otherwise sometimes they can be disappointed, right? If they didn't deliver on your expectations. So to avoid that, just like have a break and have a chat with the decider. I think this discussion is interesting. Can we spend time on it? And
yeah, absolutely. So you are preparing this big launch with this secret project. When
secret
is
project,
it?
yeah. So it's taking place on 23rd of October at 6 p.m. CET, 12 p.m. EDT for a friend in the US. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be real training. There's going to be a lot of value, some surprises, and everyone who joins the live launch will receive a small gift from me. It's something I usually sell for €299. I can tell you what it is, so that you're curious.
What
and
is
you join
it?
the
What
session.
is it? Yeah, I'm curious, but and I want to get my gift, so I will be, of course, there. But
I will tell you after the.
You talked about the time in Paris. You talked about the time in the US, and can guess what time it will be at my time?
I don't know.
1
2
o'clock. 1 o'clock.
Yeah, because you told me with the.
However, there.
But I'm gonna, I'm maybe gonna do a special one on Friday, the day after, because I don't know why, but there are a lot of people from Australia that are super interested about the deck.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about doing one in the morning at 9 a.m. by my time. So this is something maybe that's gonna let us know in the chat, like in the comments, like if you would love that it's happening sooner, because we will make it happen.
You can make 2 sessions, and I come as a co-facilitator in your session for Australia.
You're more than welcome, Naizi. And also, I didn't mention it because this is not a secret. There will also be a course on workshop design that will be packaged with one of the more premium option. Because of course, like, this was the challenge. Like, how can I put all the information on the cards so that they are not too heavy or too hard to understand, or it's become, like, again, too much information. So this is why, like, the video format gives me more freedom, and then I can also give them use cases and what is important, because you said, like, people need to be reminded of the information multiple times so that they fully understand it. Like, the best way to do that is give them example. So that's why in my own course I have these fake case studies, like, while working for a great facilitation agency called Facilitators Corner. I don't know if you heard of them. And basically the goal is that you put a workshop together to sell the workshop deck, because apparently they created a deck. And we are using the same case for all the activities that are in the deck so that you can see really what type of outcome you get at the end.
Nice. So I wrap up. There will be an event. There will be an event, a launch event on 23rd of October. You might do 2 events, so you will get all the information in our show notes of both episodes. And the launch event is not only for the card deck, but also for people who want to have the course that is, of course, an extension of the card deck. And
I think anyone wants, like, to be trained on workshop design even further than when we share today.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a survival training on workshop design, because of course, like, my goal is to sell cars. I'm not going to lie, because I want to be the success. I'm not going to make a lot of money with the cars, but it's just like, I want to give you as much value as I can. I'm truly passionate about facilitation, and I want to share that so that all together we are making the workplace nice again. I want people to go to work and have fun, because even myself in my job, it's not like, at the moment, it's not super nice. So I want people to be able to do that. So my goal is also to give them the tools. That's why I created the deck. So the training is going to be like, the live event is not going to be a sale call about just like buy the cards. It's going to be value. And at the end, they're going to be a small offer. And
For
actually,
the,
it's going to be the best offer to buy the deck, like ever.
yeah, for the deck, for the course, for the secret project
The
that is
secret
behind, and for the great facilitators, co-facilitators, however, that you will have in the room. Thank you so much, Mehdi. I'm so excited about it.
Nati, I have small information, like, because I'm like Nati mentioned it, there is a waiting list. If you want to have like some of the cards, like there is like actually some preview of my course. So I will put that also in the show notes from both show. And you just click you join the wait list and you receive these bonuses. Like every week there is one. There is the cards, the training video, and the Miro template of the activity, so that you can already start testing some of them.
Oh, this is for free. These are free
This is totally
resources.
free resources.
Great, great, great. Thank you so much, Mehdi. We did it. We are on both podcasts together.
I was super happy to be finally on your podcast, Nati. And Nati will be on mine like very soon as well. So
Exactly.
stay tuned for that.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend. Bye. See you
guys
on the 23rd of October.
Boom, boom. 23rd. Mark your agendas.